Iran has a new supreme leader, but the real question isn't just who took power. The real question is this: does this change the trajectory of the conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel, or does it lock the region into a longer confrontation? Because if Iran's political system is about continuity, then the war surrounding it may follow the same logic. Before the Islamic Republic existed, Iran was ruled by a monarchy under Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Power in that system was hereditary. It was passed down through a royal family. But the Iranian Revolution overturned that system and replaced it with a revolutionary Islamic state, which was led by clerics. The revolution framed itself as a rejection of dynastic rule. Yet today, Iran's new supreme leader is Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the previous leader Ali Khamenei, which raises an uncomfortable question. Has a system that once rejected hereditary power begun to reproduce it? In Iran's political structure, the supreme leader is the central authority. He controls the military, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the judiciary, and key strategic decisions of the state. Elected officials, including the president, operate under this authority. So when the supreme leader changes, the question is not just about the person, it's about whether the institutions behind that system are shifting. Right now, most signs point to continuity. Nothing seems to have changed. This matters because the current conflict was framed very differently by Washington. US President Donald Trump had publicly promised to dismantle the Iranian regime. The expectation in some circles was that sustained pressure, be it economic, military, or political, could destabilize the leadership structure in Tehran, in Iran. But the appointment of the new supreme leader suggests something else. The Iranian state has absorbed the shock and reproduced its leadership structure. In other words, the system did not collapse, it adapted. That has direct implications to the conflict itself. If Iran's leadership transitions produces continuity, right? If this transition produces continuity, then the strategic posture of the state is unlikely to change dramatically, which means the confrontation between Iran and Israel and the broader confrontation with the United States may persist. For Israel, Iran remains the central regional rival. For Washington, Iran continues to represent a challenge to US influence in the Middle East. So, the leadership change does not necessarily shorten the conflict. In fact, it may extend it because the system that sustains Iran's geopolitical posture remains intact. That raises another question. Could diplomacy emerge from this moment? Historically, negotiations with Iran have depended on political space within the Iranian leadership. But if the current leadership transition consolidates hardline networks, right, tied to the Revolutionary Guard and conservative clerics, the incentive for rapid diplomatic compromise may be limited. That doesn't eliminate diplomacy entirely, but it suggests that any negotiations would likely be slow, cautious, and heavily conditioned by security considerations on all sides. Now, what does this mean for the world? For the international system, the message is relatively clear. Iran's state structure remains intact. The leadership transition indicates that the Islamic Republic still has the institutional capacity to reproduce itself even under external pressure, which means the geopolitical confrontation surrounding Iran is unlikely to disappear quickly. Instead, the region may be entering a longer phase of strategic competition involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. Iran now has a supreme leader, but the deeper story isn't about the new figure at the top, it's about the resilience of the system underneath. Because if the system survives, then the geopolitical conflict surrounding it may survive as well. And that means that the next phase of the Iran confrontation may not be defined by sudden collapse, but by the long term strategic rivalry.